Good evening, everyone. This is the February 26th meeting of the City of Revere's Subcommittee on Billboards. Today, we're going to discuss the final amendments and changes that will be proposed to the whole City Council relative to billboards. At this time, Frank Stringy, our city planner, is going to review the work that he and Paul Capizzi have been working on for this ordinance.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience. Paul and I drafted the language for this ordinance, and we went back and forth on a few things. And Paul did quite a bit of legal research too to make sure that this ordinance has the backbone to survive any legal challenge. So the basic components of the ordinance, as we set out, was number one, to prohibit any future proliferation of billboards throughout the city. And we did that. The ordinance prohibits new billboard construction in every district in the city. So no zoning districts throughout the board prohibit billboards. That was the number one thing. The second thing was to regulate digital signage throughout the city. And to allow it only by special permit in the highway business and TED districts. Now, by digital signage, I don't mean billboards, I mean just digital signs, standing or attached signs for commercial uses. And the third one was to allow that static billboards can be converted to digital billboards only by special permit in the TED district. There's only one district where we'll allow that by the City Council for somebody to come in and convert their existing non-conforming static billboard to a digital billboard. And the concern we had was, I think some members of the committee wanted to have a condition for the special permit that required that the billboard operator or owner for that special permit has to remove 2 non-conforming billboards or 3 non-conforming billboards. So Paul Capizzi checked the legal status of that, and basically he felt and was told will not hold up in court because you have to treat everybody fairly, and there are some billboard owners that only have 1 billboard in the city, and if they came in for a special permit for a digital, they would not be able to meet the requirements of the ordinance. So in respects to that, if a petitioner comes before the City Council requesting to change a static billboard in the TED district by special permit, the council will have to take it case by case, depending on how many billboards they own and operate. It may require the removal of 2 or 3 or more billboards as a condition of that special permit. To give you a breakdown, there are 31 billboards throughout the city. 6 in the TED district, which is basically Lee Burbank Highway, 3 in the Highway Business District, and 22 in all the other districts. So there are essentially 6 existing billboards that would be able to come before the City Council that are static and be asked to, and be given a special permit, if allowed, to change to a digital billboard. I toured the city with Ron Champeau and Carol Haney from the Revere Beautification Committee. We did a total count of the billboards. We went over every district that a billboard is in, and the results I just gave you, which are 6 in the TED district, 3 in the highway business, and 22 in all other districts. So under this ordinance, there would only be 6 billboards that exist that they would be allowed to come before the City Council for a special permit. That's just to convert from static to digital. And again, nobody would be able to petition the City Council for new construction of a billboard anywhere in the city under this ordinance. The committee also requested that billboard safety and maintenance standards be put in place, and that is under Section 14 of the new ordinance, which requires them yearly to submit a structural report to the building inspector every year, and backup documentation that show the sign is structurally sound. So that language is in here. And, I mean, that basically sums up everything that the committee set out to do, and it's in here. Are there any other questions?
Are there any questions that this committee has? Mr. Champeau?
Ron?
I'm fully thankful to have gone around with Frank and Carol all over the city to see exactly what we had talked about. And I think that was vitally important. We were able to make a change once we saw what was needed when we went around throughout the city for this new ordinance. My only issue that right now is the fining. I couldn't get a specific understanding of the law. I was hoping Mr. The attorney Capizzi would be here concerning how much an individual would be fined if, you know, we went through the incidents of what happened at the corner of Revere Street and Broadway, something like that, where the billboard was torn for days and days. So I don't know what the answer to that is. Maybe somehow we could generate a discussion about that, or just find out that what happens in a case like that. It says refer to such and such a law and chapter. I mean, I'm not an attorney, so I think we need to be strong about this issue.
Councilman Kenna?
Thank you, Madam President. I think we can set a fine. We can set our own
Yeah.
fine since we're creating a new ordinance, so we can set a fine. And also, Frank, when does this start? When does this go into effect?
Well, you would report to the city council as a whole this evening.
Sure.
The recommendation that this be ordered to a public hearing. And then public hearing will be set probably for next month. And probably the next city council meeting, you could adopt it after the public hearing. So we're talking in March, which is basically when the moratorium expires. So we're just making the deadline.
So because of that, I think it's really important that we definitely get it before the council tonight so we can get it to a public hearing. But perhaps we can get a communication from Paul Capizzi before then. That way we can kind of finalize the details regarding the fines. Because I'm sure he has a reason for referring to the general law that he did to establish those fines. But I do agree that it would be helpful to get more information about the mentality behind it, and then we can pick it apart from there.
Yeah, I think what Paul said before is that the fines would be subject to our existing fines and penalties that we have under zoning. And this is $250 a day if there's a violation. So that can be imposed by the building department anytime.
Now, when you say that, is it the same as like the health violations, like that they would do for like
Yes, they can
inspectional
actually-
services, like if someone didn't cut their lawn or had trash or something like that?
That's right.
Okay.
Excuse me. There's also a period when you read that's why it's important for the attorney to be here. But I think we all should know. But there's a period, a waiting period too. They wait like 7 days or 10 days for it to be resolved, the issue. But this can go on, so I don't know specifically if an attorney could say, there's a $250 fine after 10 days or after the notification. I think we all should know. So if it's per day, it'll stop them from having the billboards up there for a month or, 2 months even, whatever.
I agree.
So just so that we all know.
Of
I
course.
think we should all know what the...
I agree, and I
rules are.
think that'll be helpful information to get before we vote on a final ordinance. But I do think it's important, again, get it to the council tonight.
Oh, absolutely.
And then we can call a public hearing and then finalize all those details. And I hope that Paul is doing well, and hopefully he can get us some more information before
Right.
that meeting. But I think that'll give us a sufficient amount of time. Councilor Patch?
Thank you, Madam President. I was just wondering if we go after the public hearing, doesn't it have to go to committee? Like a
Yes,
zoning or legislature or whatever?
yes, so it'll go to zoning.
Okay, so we can discuss either at the public hearing or at the committee
Yep.
about what you're asking.
About the fines?
Yeah.
Okay, just to get the answer, whatever it is.
Good point, Counselor. Any other counselors have any questions? Well, I believe this concludes this meeting. I recommend that we bring this to the city council favorably, that we vote on it to put this to a public hearing, in which case it will be my hopes that it goes to the zoning subcommittee for further review to finalize any questions, comments, or concerns, at which point, after that, we'll vote it out before the council as a whole. This adjourns the meeting of the Subcommittee on Billboards. Thank you, everyone. The regular City Council meeting will meet at 6 PM this evening.